twin moons hung low over the dusty planet of Alara 9, glowing silver and blue across the quiet desert. The wind carried the scent of metal and smoke. In the middle of that lonely night stood a small tavern made of old ship parts and neon lights that flickered like tired stars. Its sign read, "The Silver Fang." Inside, the air was warm, filled with the soft hum of alien voices and the sound of glasses clinking. Travelers from distant worlds sat in silence, each lost in their own story. Behind the counter she moved, the bartender with silver eyes. Her hair was dark and long, her skin pale with a faint shimmer under the light. There was something wild about her, something not entirely human. When the door opened, every head turned. A man stepped in, covered in dust from his long journey. He looked tired, hungry, and broke, a human far from home. He walked to the counter, placed a single credit chip on the table, and said softly, "Just a drink. Something strong." The bartender gave a small smile. "You sure you can handle what I serve, traveler?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried a story of pain and memory. She poured a glowing drink into a glass and slid it across the counter. The man took a sip and blinked. It tasted like lightning and rain mixed together. He looked at her again, studying the faint scars along her wrist. "You've seen battle?" he asked. She paused. The other customers went quiet, as if holding their breath. Then she laughed softly, not with joy, but with something sad and old. "You wouldn't believe what I used to be," she said. The man leaned closer, curious. "Try me." She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes reflecting the twin moons through the window. "I used to run with the night," she whispered. "Before the hunters came." He frowned, not sure if she was joking. But then he saw her pupils shift, not round but narrow like a wolf's. The air grew colder. Somewhere outside, a mechanical beast howled in the distance. He felt a strange pull toward her, something between fear and fascination. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. She gave him another drink instead of an answer. "Names don't matter here," she said. "Only stories do. You look like a man who's lost his." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I am. Maybe that's why I'm here." Her silver eyes softened. "Then drink," she said. "And listen." The music in the tavern faded as she began to speak. Her voice was low, steady, like a fire burning slow through the night. She spoke of old wars, of moons that turned red, and of a pack that once ruled the forests of another world. The man felt chills as he listened. Every word felt heavy with truth. But what truly haunted him wasn't her story. It was the way her voice trembled when she said, "I was the last one left." Outside, the wind rose again, carrying the sound of distant howls. Inside, he realized she wasn't just telling a story. She was remembering a life she couldn't forget. And somewhere deep in his heart, the traveler knew that this night in this strange tavern under twin moons was the beginning of something he would never escape. The next night, the traveler returned to the Silver Fang. He told himself it was just for another drink, but deep down he knew that wasn't true. Something about the bartender haunted his thoughts. Those silver eyes, the way her voice trembled when she spoke of the hunters, and that strange warmth he felt when she looked at him. The tavern was quieter tonight. Only a few aliens sat in the corners, their faces hidden behind helmets or hoods. The smell of oil and spice filled the air. He walked to the counter and found her polishing a glass, her expression distant. "Lost in a world far away, you came back," she said softly, without looking up. "I wanted to hear the rest of your story," he replied. Her lips curved slightly. "Careful, traveler. Some stories don't end well." "I'll take my chances," he said. For a long moment she studied him. The neon light caught in her silver eyes, and he thought he saw something moving there, like the reflection of stars. Finally, she poured him another glowing drink and began to speak. "My kind were born under red skies," she said quietly. "We were called the Lyran Wolves. We were faster, stronger, sharper than most, but we were loyal above all. We protected the old worlds when the machines rose. We fought to keep the balance." He listened, completely still. "What happened to your people?" he asked. She stopped, her hands trembling slightly. "They were betrayed. The empires wanted our blood. They said it carried power, strength that could make soldiers unbreakable. So they hunted us one by one." Her voice broke on the last word. She turned away, pretending to fix a bottle on the shelf. But the traveler saw the small scar on her neck, shaped like a crescent, like a bite mark that never healed. He wanted to comfort her, to say something, but his throat was dry. Instead, he asked softly, "And you survived?" She gave a sad smile. If you can call this surviving. There was silence between them. Outside, the desert wind blew against the metal walls, making them creak like old ships. Then, as if breaking a rule, she stepped closer. "You remind me of someone," she said. "Someone who used to listen. Someone who didn't run when he saw what I was." He felt his heartbeat quicken. "And what are you?" Her eyes glowed faintly as she whispered, "A secret the galaxy tried to erase." For a moment, the power flickered in the tavern. The lights dimmed and he caught a glimpse of something, a shadow behind her, the shape of a wolf-like creature rising in the dim glow. Then it vanished as the light steadied again. He blinked, unsure if he'd imagined it. She smiled faintly, knowing what he'd seen. "Now you understand why I don't go outside at night," she said. The traveler leaned closer. "If they hunted your kind, then they might still be looking for you." She nodded. "They never stopped." He frowned. "Then why stay here? Why not hide?" Her eyes met his, steady and calm. "Because I'm tired of running. And maybe I'm waiting for something." He didn't ask what. He didn't need to. He could feel it. The strange pull between them like two stars caught in each other's gravity. When he finally left the tavern that night, the moons hung higher, brighter. And as he walked away, he heard her whisper behind him, so faint it might have been the wind. "Good night, human." He didn't look back. But his heart was already trapped in those silver eyes. The next evening, the traveler came again. The Silver Fang felt emptier now, a silent place where even the music had stopped trying. The lights flickered dimly, and the bartender stood by the window staring out at the moons. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the stars above. When she saw him enter, she smiled weakly. "You really want to know?" she said. He nodded. "You said your kind were betrayed. Tell me how." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she poured 2 drinks, and one for him, one for herself. The liquid shimmered red under the lights. "Then listen," she whispered. Her voice softened, and the world seemed to slow around them. The air changed, the tavern fading into memory. "It was the night of the red star," she began. "We called it the blood moon. Our world, Lyra, was covered in forests and rivers that glowed with life. We lived in packs, strong, loyal, and proud. But that night, everything burned." The traveler said nothing. He watched her eyes that carried 1,000 years of pain. "They came in ships," she said. "Hunters, mercenaries paid by the empires. They said we were dangerous, too wild, too free. But the truth was they wanted our blood." She clenched her fist around the glass until it cracked. "Our blood could heal wounds, strengthen the body. The soldiers wanted to become like us, so they took it." The traveler's throat tightened. "You fought back?" "We did. We howled under the red sky, and for a moment it seemed we might win. My pack was brave. My brother led them while I protected the children. But the hunters brought fire that fell from the sky. We could smell the iron before it hit the ground." She closed her eyes, and for a moment her face looked younger, more fragile. "I remember his last words. 'Run, Lira,' he said. 'Live, remember us.' And then I heard him scream. The silence that followed was heavy. The neon lights hummed softly, but the tavern felt cold. The traveler reached out, his hand trembling slightly. "You survived alone?" Her lips parted. "For days I ran through the ashes. Every shadow looked like him. Every sound felt like the past calling me back. When the ships left, I was the only one breathing." Her eyes glowed faintly, and for a second, he thought he saw the reflection of flames dancing inside them. "I swore I'd never trust another human again," she said quietly, "because they led the hunt." He froze. "Humans?" She nodded. "Not like you, but humans still, soldiers of the Galactic Union. They thought they were cleansing the system, but all they did was kill something pure." Her voice broke. She turned away, her hands shaking. "Sometimes I still hear the cries of my pack when the wind passes the mountains, and every time I close my eyes I see the red sky again." He swallowed hard. "Then why tell me all this?" She looked back at him, her silver eyes now softer, glowing with a quiet sadness. "Because you asked. And because maybe I want someone to remember us, even if it's just one human." The traveler nodded slowly, unable to speak. Outside, thunder rolled across the desert, and a crimson lightning flash lit up the horizon. just like the night she described. He didn't know it yet, but her story was becoming his, and under the twin moons, with the scent of storm and sorrow in the air, something began to change, a fragile connection forming between two broken worlds. The following night, the desert around the Silver Fang was restless. Winds roared like wild beasts, and the twin moons were hidden behind thick gray clouds. The traveler pushed open the tavern door and felt something different in the air, a tension that pressed against his chest like a storm waiting to break. The bartender, Lira, was standing behind the counter, her eyes darker than before. She wasn't wearing her usual calm smile. Instead, she looked alert, as if expecting something, or someone. "You shouldn't have come tonight," she said quietly. "Why not?" the traveler asked. "Because trouble follows the scent of fear," she murmured, glancing toward the door. He frowned. "What's happening?" Before she could answer, the tavern door creaked open again. A tall figure stepped inside, a man in black armor, his helmet shining under the dim neon lights. His face was hidden, but the mark on his chest was clear, a silver claw, the symbol of the Hunter Guild. The music died. Every customer froze. Lyra's fingers brushed the counter, reaching for something beneath it. The traveler noticed the faint tremor in her hands. The armored man's voice echoed through the room, low and mechanical. "I've been looking for you, Lira of Lyra," he said. "The last of your kind. There's a bounty so large it could buy this whole planet." The tavern held its breath. Lyra's eyes flashed silver. "Then you should have brought an army," the hunter chuckled. "One is enough." In an instant he pulled a weapon, a plasma blade glowing blue. But before he could strike, Lyra's hand slammed the counter and a wave of energy burst from the floor. The lights shattered. The world turned into chaos. Shouts, broken glass, glowing sparks. The traveler ducked behind a table as the hunter charged forward. Lira moved faster than his eyes could follow. A blur of claws and motion, her body glowing faintly as her true form began to surface. Her pupils narrowed, her teeth lengthened, and for a heartbeat he saw the wolf inside the woman. The hunter's blade missed her by inches. She leapt over the counter, her arms slashing across his armor, sparks flying. But he struck back, cutting her shoulder. She fell against a metal beam, gasping in pain. The traveler didn't think, he just moved. He grabbed a piece of broken pipe and threw it at the hunter. It hit his helmet, stunning him for half a second. "Run!" Lira shouted, but he didn't. He ran toward her. The hunter turned, raising his blade. But the traveler grabbed a bottle from the counter and smashed it against the glowing edge. The liquid inside caught fire, exploding into bright orange flames. The hunter stumbled backward, his armor burning. Lira used the moment. She lunged, claws flashing, and drove him through the tavern door into the sand outside. When the firelight faded, only silence remained. Lira stood panting, her hands trembling, silver blood dripping from her shoulder. The traveler approached carefully. "You're hurt," he said. She laughed weakly. "It'll heal." "It always does." He looked at her, amazed and terrified all at once. "You could have killed me back there." She met his gaze, her voice soft but sharp. "And yet you helped me. You're either brave or foolish." "Maybe both," he said, managing a small smile. For the first time, she smiled back, a real one. "Then I owe you a drink, human." But outside, in the darkness beyond the tavern lights, something moved. The hunter's communicator lay cracked in the sand and still blinking red. Somewhere far away, another light blinked back. More hunters were coming. The rain began before dawn. Heavy silver sheets poured over the metal rooftops of the city, washing away the dust but not the danger. The Silver Fang lay in ruins behind them, smoke rising from shattered walls. The traveler and Lira moved through the narrow alleys, cloaked in darkness, their footsteps drowned by the storm. Neither spoke for a long time. Their breaths came out in mist. Every shadow felt like an eye watching them. Somewhere far behind, faint engines echoed, the sound of hunters searching. "You're bleeding," the traveler said quietly. "It's nothing," she replied, her voice tired. "It'll close soon." He glanced at the glowing wound on her shoulder. It shimmered faintly, silver against her skin. "That's not nothing." Lira stopped walking. "You shouldn't have helped me," she said. "Now you're marked too," he frowned. "I didn't help you because I had to. I did it because I wanted to." For the first time, her expression softened. The rain fell harder, running down her face like tears she didn't want to show. "You're strange for a human," she whispered. "Most of your kind run from things like me." "Maybe I'm tired of running too," he said. They reached the outskirts and a maze of rusted towers and flickering signs. Lira led him into an abandoned transport bay. Inside, the air smelled of wet metal and dust. She sat against a broken wall, her hands trembling as she tried to clean the wound. He knelt beside her. "Let me," she hesitated, then nodded. His hands were gentle as he tore a strip from his jacket and pressed it to her shoulder. The warmth of her skin surprised him. It was not cold or alien. It was real. Lira looked at him quietly. "Back on Lyra," she said, "we used to say the rain carries memories. Every drop that falls remembers a voice, a face, a promise." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe it'll remember this moment." Her silver eyes met his. The thunder outside echoed softly. "Maybe," she said. For a few seconds, the world was just the two of them. The sound of rain, the smell of rust, and the soft pulse of her heartbeat under his fingers. Then she looked away, her voice turning sad again. "There's something you should know," she said. "I came here for a reason. There's a place, deep in the northern ruins, where my kind once built a cure. Something that could end what I am." "A cure?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "It could make me human. But it might also erase my memories. Everything, my pack, my world, even you." He froze. "You'd forget everything?" Her lips trembled. "If it means peace, maybe that's worth it." He shook his head. "Peace isn't forgetting who you are. It's finding someone who sees you and stays." She looked at him, eyes wide, as if no one had ever said that to her before. The rain outside softened to a gentle drizzle. Lira smiled faintly. "You really are foolish, traveler." "Maybe," he said, smiling back. "But I made a promise. To who?" He looked out the doorway, watching the faint light of the twin moons struggling through the storm. "To myself. That I wouldn't leave someone alone again." For a long time, she said nothing. Then she reached out, her hand resting lightly on his. "Then don't," she whispered. And in that quiet, broken place under the rain, the human and the werewolf bartender made a silent promise. One neither of them would ever forget. The storm had passed, leaving the city wrapped in mist and silence. The twin moons returned, pale and watchful, hanging over the broken skyline. Lira and the traveler walked side by side through the ruins, their boots sinking into puddles that reflected the night sky. They had been running for days. From shadows, from bounty signals, from the past itself. But now, standing before a crumbling tower of silver steel, they stopped. "This is it," Lira said softly. The old lab. The structure rose like a forgotten monument covered in vines and rust. A single light still flickered deep within, a sign of life or a trap, they couldn't tell. The traveler's hand instinctively went to the small blaster he carried. "Are you sure?" he asked. Lira nodded. "It's where they kept our blood, the cure. It's still inside." He stared at her, unsure whether to feel hope or dread. "If you take it, you'll lose everything?" She didn't answer. Instead, she touched the crescent scar on her neck, the mark of her curse. "Maybe some memories aren't worth keeping," she whispered. They stepped inside. The air was cold and smelled of old chemicals. Broken machines lined the walls, their screens blinking weakly as if they still remembered pain. As they moved deeper, faint lights came alive one by one until the path glowed in dim blue. Lyra's breath quickened. "It's close," she said. They entered a wide chamber at the heart of the lab. In the center stood a glass pod filled with swirling silver mist. Symbols were carved into its frame, ancient Lyran runes. Lira walked toward it slowly, her eyes glimmering with awe and fear. "This is it," she whispered, "the last memory of my people." But before she could touch the pod, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Step away." "Wolf." They spun around. From the shadows emerged the armored hunter, alive, scarred, but burning with rage. His armor was cracked, but his eyes glowed with vengeance. Behind him, 2 drones hovered, their guns aimed straight at them. Lyra's claws shimmered as she stepped in front of the traveler. "You should have stayed dead." The hunter's helmet split open, revealing a human face, tired, angry, and strangely familiar. "I didn't come to kill you," he said coldly. "I came for him." Lira froze. "What?" The hunter smirked. "Didn't he tell you? Your little friend here was paid to find you, to bring you to me. He was the bait, not the savior." Her heart seemed to stop. She turned toward the traveler, her eyes wide, her voice breaking. Tell me he's lying. The traveler opened his mouth, but no words came. His silence was enough. Lira took a step back. You used me? No, he shouted. It started like that, yes, but I didn't know who you were. I swear, Lira, I stopped working for them the moment I met you. Her eyes filled with silver tears. And yet here we are. The hunter raised his weapon. Step aside, human. I'll make her death quick. But the traveler moved between them. You'll have to go through me first. The hunter's finger tightened on the trigger. Lyra's claws gleamed. The air buzzed with energy, tense and trembling. Then the glass pod beside them cracked, light exploding outward. A blinding wave of silver energy tore through the chamber. The hunter was thrown backward. The traveler hit the wall hard. When the smoke cleared, Lira was gone. Only her voice lingered in the air, soft, distant, and breaking. Don't follow me. The traveler fell to his knees, his chest aching with guilt. The moon shone through the shattered ceiling, bathing him in cold light. He had come to find a monster. Instead, he had lost the only soul who made him feel human. The desert was quiet again. Weeks had passed since the blast in the old lab, and the twin moons hung lower now, pale ghosts over a dying world. The traveler walked alone through the ruins, his boots crunching against shards of glass that once shimmered with Lyra's light. He had searched every corner of the planet. Every shadow, every alley, every broken ship. But there was no sign of her, no voice, no scent, nothing. Only the silence of things left behind. He carried her crescent pendant now, the one she used to wear on her wrist. It was cracked down the middle, but when he held it to the moonlight, it still glowed faintly silver. Finally, his steps brought him back to where it all began. The Silver Fang. The tavern had been rebuilt. Someone had repaired the walls, fixed the lights, even cleaned the floors. The sign still flickered, though one letter stayed dim, the F in Fang, as if refusing to forget. The traveler hesitated at the door, his heart heavy. Then he stepped inside. The place was empty. No customers, no music, and just the quiet hum of machines. He walked to the counter where she once stood and found a single glass waiting for him. It shimmered faintly in the low light, filled with a silver-blue liquid that rippled like the sky. Beside it lay a small folded note. His hand shook as he opened it. You once asked who I was, the note read. Now I remember. I am Lira of Lyra, last of the wolves, keeper of the rain, the one who dared to love a human. His chest tightened. The words blurred through his tears. The cure worked. The note continued. I'm no longer what I was. My claws, my strength, my curse, gone. But so are my memories. I don't remember the red star. I don't remember the war.
Yet when I woke up, I remembered one thing on your face.
I don't know your name, but I remember your eyes. That means something, doesn't it? He smiled weakly. It means everything, he whispered. As he lifted the glass, something flickered in the corner of his vision. A reflection in the old mirror behind the bar. For a heartbeat, he saw her. Lira. She stood at the doorway, wrapped in a long coat, her dark hair damp from the night rain. Her eyes were no longer glowing silver, just soft gray now, human, gentle. But her smile, it was the same. The traveler turned, breath catching. Lira, she blinked, tilting her head. Do I know you? His voice trembled. Not anymore, he said softly. But maybe you could. She walked closer, studying his face as if searching for something familiar. You look like someone from a dream, she said. He chuckled, though his heart ached. Then maybe dreams aren't so cruel after all. For a long moment they stood there, the world outside silent except for the soft whisper of rain. Then she smiled and reached for the glass he held. Did I make this? She asked. He nodded. You did. You said it was your favorite. She took a sip, her eyes lighting up in surprise. It tastes like lightning and rain. He smiled faintly. You used to say that too. They stood under the pale light, two strangers bound by a love that time couldn't erase. She didn't remember the war, the pain, or the hunters, but she remembered the warmth and the feeling of him. And for the traveler, that was enough. Outside, the rain began again, soft, silver, endless. And somewhere above, under the twin moons of Alara 9, the last of the Lyran wolves finally found peace. End of Saga. The werewolf bartender shared her love story, and I fell head over heels. HFY. Sci-Fi.